Charismatic leadership cults often feature charismatic leaders who claim extraordinary knowledge, insight, or divine connections. These leaders exhibit magnetic personalities to attract followers with unconventional messages, suggesting devotion and loyalty to their cause. They employ visionary rhetoric promising better futures, spiritual enlightenment, or personal transformation, favoring ambiguous over-direct statements. Such leaders discourage critical thinking, framing dissent as betrayal. While charismatic leadership isn't inherently negative in cults, it's exploited for manipulative ends. This analysis emphasizes the importance of recognizing and critically evaluating the subtle manipulations and the dynamics within cults, highlighting the potential dangers of unchecked charismatic authority. Exclusive belief system cults often establish an exclusive belief system to set themselves apart from mainstream society, emphasizing uniqueness and superiority. This exclusivity serves to maintain the group's cohesion by instilling a sense of separation from those outside the belief system. Cults utilize fear to deter members from leaving, viewing doubt or skepticism as a weakness. They discourage connections with external influences that could challenge their ideologies. Historical examples such as Heaven's Gate and the Branch Davidians illustrate the extreme outcomes of such belief systems, including mass suicides and deadly confrontations. These cases underscore the dangers of rigid belief systems within cults, highlighting the importance of critical scrutiny of any group that demands unquestioning allegiance to its doctrines. Manipulation and mind control. Cults use manipulation and mind control techniques to enforce member compliance, limiting exposure to external information to prevent questioning. Techniques include presenting confusing, contradictory information to foster psychological discomfort, encouraging acceptance of the cult's reality. Love bombing involves overwhelming newcomers with affection to foster loyalty and susceptibility to influence. Tactics also involve sleep deprivation and demanding schedules to increase vulnerability. An example is NXIVM, which used personal information as blackmail to prevent defection. This analysis underscores the critical need to understand and recognize manipulative practices in cult dynamics, highlighting the psychological strategies employed to maintain control over members. Authoritarian structure cults often exhibit an authoritarian structure, emphasizing strict obedience to centralized leadership. This hierarchy involves layers of authority with subordinate leaders enforcing the leader's directives. Cults implement rigid rules to govern member behavior, limiting autonomy to ensure the group's survival. Penalties for rule violations may include abuse, humiliation, or excommunication, while compliance might be rewarded with emotional or material incentives. Additionally, cults can offer practical benefits like healthcare or housing, often at hidden costs, illustrating the manipulative balance between control and perceived support within these groups. This analysis highlights the critical need to scrutinize the coercive structures and practices that underpin cult dynamics, reflecting on their impacts on individual autonomy and well-being. Exploitation of members cults exploit members through various means, including financial, emotional, psychological, and physical avenues for the benefit of the group's leadership. Financial exploitation often involves mandatory donations and purchasing expensive items with opaque handling of funds. Labor exploitation includes demanding excessive work hours without fair compensation, as highlighted by practices in organizations like the Church of Scientology. Emotional and psychological manipulations such as love bombing and gaslighting maintain emotional dependency. Sexual exploitation and physical abuse further degrade members' autonomy and well-being. This critique underscores the complex, multifaceted nature of exploitation within cults, stressing the need for awareness and critical examination of such groups to protect individuals from harm. Isolation from outsiders' cults often create echo chambers by isolating members from external information sources, reinforcing existing beliefs and facilitating control. Leaders may require cutting off external contacts, including friends and family, and sometimes establish isolated living communities to enhance physical and psychological isolation. This isolation complicates leaving and seeking help, benefiting cult leaders while having significant psychological impacts on members. Communication with the outside is typically banned or heavily monitored, with any permitted contact being closely supervised, further entrenching the echo chamber effect. Fear and intimidation. Cult leaders employ fear and intimidation to maintain control, using both physical threats and emotional manipulation. Isolation amplifies these tactics, making members feel dependent on the cult. Emotional manipulation may involve threats of severance from family and friends. Aum Shinrikyo, led by Shoko Asahara, exemplified this through its apocalyptic teachings and severe indoctrination, culminating in the 1995 Tokyo subway sarin attack. This highlights the extreme lengths to which cults will go to enforce obedience and the dangerous outcomes of such control methods. Groupthink in cults suppresses critical thinking for consensus and conformity, leading to irrational decisions. This environment pressures members into conforming with peer influence and fear of social rejection. The illusion of unanimity makes individuals doubt their concerns, and they rationalize harmful decisions. Mind guards are appointed to suppress dissent, ensuring conformity by shielding the group from opposing views. This dynamic significantly impacts individual judgment and promotes a unified but potentially harmful group ideology. Deception and secrecy. Cults often employ deceptive tactics for recruitment, masquerading as benign entities like self-help groups or charitable organizations. Initially hiding their true intentions, they gradually reveal their ideology once individuals are deeply involved. Through misinformation and emotional manipulation, cults build loyalty to their leaders while maintaining secrecy and control over their members. This strategy involves presenting an idealized version of their beliefs to attract followers, manipulating members' trust to sustain the group's secrecy and dominance. Unrealistic promises. Cults often entice members with unrealistic promises such as personal fulfillment, spiritual enlightenment, or societal change. These can range from miraculous healing and material wealth to utopian societies and even immortality or ascension to a higher plane. Such promises exploit individuals' desires, but typically lead to disappointment, psychological harm, and trauma when the promised outcomes fail to materialize. This strategy manipulates vulnerable individuals, leveraging their aspirations and vulnerabilities for the cult's benefit, often with damaging consequences.